I was supposed to do this a while ago, and for whatever reason, I didn't. So, how about now? Let's rank from the worst to the best Spider Man films. There are exactly 10 Spider Man films, so what a perfect time to do it. Starting the list at number 10, Dead Last. And by conjunction means that it's the worst Spider Man movie, in my opinion. The Amazing Spider Man 2. Now, there was a time where I was a little more forgiving to this movie, and even when I rewatch it now, there are still things about the film that I enjoy, like Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's relationship. I think that's some of the strongest stuff of this film. The ending is obviously very heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, but it's the villains. For the most part, the villains are the worst thing about this. From Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn to Jamie Foxx as Electro. My God, was that a fail. And Paul Giamatti, who I love as an actor, as the Rhino, just doesn't really work. Also, what they do with Norman Osborn, this universe's Norman Osborn, at the very beginning was puzzling, to say the least. And also, the mystery behind Peter Parker's parents. Not only did I not really care about this mystery, about what happened to them, but I thought the payoff was like, we could have just got this in the first movie. Speaking of that, at number 9, The Amazing Spider-Man, the first Andrew Garfield film, and I feel bad. I do. Having the Andrew Garfield movies this low on the list makes me sound like I don't like Andrew Garfield or I dislike his Spider-Man. And that's not true at all. Actually, I really appreciate Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, especially nowadays. I think he shines in his films. I think he brings a certain level of acting that you could argue the other actors don't have as much. He's a far better Spider-Man as far as his sense of humor, the jokes, and the way that he looks in the costume. Also, Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy shines very much here. The Lizard, I was very let down by the Lizard, his characterization, and the way he looks. I have complained about this for so long, it's probably annoying to hear me say it again. Where's his snout? And why doesn't he wear his goddamn lab coat? The biggest issue with this film, honestly, is that it's his origin. It's his origin all over again. They spend the first hour of the movie covering the origin. It still felt like we knew the story. We didn't need to retell it in this way. Number 8, Spider-Man 3. Another film that I think I wanted to like more when it first came out, but I already knew I had so many issues with it as far as how they handled the black suit Spider-Man, how they handled emo Peter Parker. And I know all this time later, it's very funny to reference or joke about Bully Maguire, and he's become a meme and he's become something that's very funny, sure. But at the time, I wanted them to take it a little more serious. I wanted them to treat this like it was a major deal, that it was something serious that Peter, the character, was going through. Eddie Brock. I was so excited that they were going to have Eddie Brock and him turn into Venom in this film. And not only was Topher Grace not the guy that should have played that part, but Venom being in this movie for what, maybe 10 minutes? And then killed off? I couldn't be more disappointed. Sandman was decent, although his backstory a little cliched. I think they rushed their Harry Osborn becoming the villain. I think Mary Jane is the most unlikable in this particular film. Number 7, Spider-Man Far From Home, which I wish I could put this higher on my list because I hear that some people don't like it. I hear that some people think it's the worst Spider-Man movie, and that's shocking because I enjoy it. Again, it should be higher. If I could, I would. I love Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. Very interesting, especially the dynamic of him swerving everybody, him pretending to be a hero from another world, but really he's bitter. He's angry about Tony Stark's inventions and something that Stark stole from him, and he wants to get it back. He wants the credit. He wants to be in the public eye in that way. I absolutely love the sequence where Mysterio and Spider-Man have that big epic battle where it's just images and illusions galore. And then the ending. You could argue that the ending cliffhanger of Spider-Man Far From Home is one of the best endings to a Spider-Man movie ever. At number 6, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, some people I have seen say that this is their favorite Spider-Man movie ever, and I understand that because this film very much surprised me when it first came out. Just the visuals, the animation, and the way how they were able to successfully bring in Miles Morales as a character that I knew beforehand, but I never really knew if they could make it work in a movie, and this was great, a perfect way to do it. His interactions with all of the other versions of the Spider-Mans in the universes, and the music. The soundtrack to this film is so memorable, so good. Number 5, Spider-Man Homecoming. This means a lot to me, this particular film, because not only did I like Tom Holland as Spider-Man, you could make the argument that he's the best actor to play the character, but bringing Spider-Man into the MCU is something that I never thought I would see. Honestly, I had given up by this point. I was just like, it's just not going to happen. No, like, it's something to not even ask for. It's something to not even daydream about because Sony has a stranglehold of this character and they keep fucking up with their films. But somehow, some way, somebody answered my prayers. And before I knew it, I started to see Spider-Man interact with Iron Man and Captain America and all of these characters that just, it blew my mind. And this movie showed how having him connected to the MCU, having him in a world where the Avengers exist, make this movie stand out way more than the other two films, makes it very different, and it also helps freshen up the idea of rebooting the character. It makes it not feel like, oh, we're doing his origin again. No, they skipped the origin. They handled it all in a great way. Michael Keaton as Vulture. I still get goosebumps when I think about the scene where they open the door and, oh, look, Michael Keaton's there. And the scene, the very intense scene in the car when he figures out his identity. Just so good. Number 4, Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man from 2002. I think this is a bit of nostalgic for me, for sure. I remember seeing this for the first time and thinking, my God, they did it. Live action Spider-Man. It just didn't seem possible. I always thought it would be a comic book or cartoon thing. Live action, even some of the effects still hold up to this day. I love the way the origin is handled, how Tobey Maguire plays the Peter Parker character. Very relatable, very down to earth. I love his dynamic with Kirsten Dunst and James Franco. And also Norman Osborn, William Dafoe as Green Goblin, has some really memorable and great stuff here. Number 3, Spider-Man 2. I know I'm shocked as well because for years, for decades almost, I have been saying that Spider-Man 2 is the best Spider-Man movie of all time. And I never thought it would change. I never thought they'd be able to touch that again because this movie is very strong. You see how hard it is for Peter Parker to be Spider-Man, how him trying to balance a job, balance his school, balance his relationships, and how he just can't be with Mary Jane for multiple reasons. And all of that is very tragic. Dr. Octopus as the villain. This movie made me appreciate and love this villain so much more than I ever had before. And the dynamic of Harry Osborn finding out the secret and turning to the dark side. I just love all of that. Number 2, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is one of the films that I said, yeah, we can do it. We can continue to make new Spider-Man movies that do elevate, that does raise the bar, and does do something that I personally love. I loved how they upped the animation style, how they did so much more with it, especially going to the other multiverses. I love how much more characters we get introduced that are all spider people. I love the characterization of Gwen Stacy and how much more they do with her backstory, how much more of the parent, especially the mother relationship with Miles. And I love Miles growing up. I love Miles having to deal with wanting to be Spider-Man, wanting to do the right thing, wanting to be a hero, but man, it's that balance. It's him trying to do school stuff, trying to do normal life stuff. It was very relatable. And the cliffhanger of this movie has me dying with anticipation to see the very next one. But for my number one favorite Spider-Man film, and this took me a little while to realize that this is my favorite Spider-Man movie, but it is Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie is so special. This movie did something that was the impossible, that was the unthinkable. It somehow made the original Spider-Man movies, both of the Tobey and Andrew films, made them even better, made them even stronger, and in retroactively connected them to the MCU, how they brought them back. It did something. I still am tripping over the idea that we got 3 different live action Spider-Man actors all together, all interacting, all relating, and all helping each other grow. And it's so good. I love how we got to see some of these actors play the villains once again, like Dr. Octopus, like William Dafoe, who was already great in the original film, but bringing him back to be even more menacing, be even more scary, to definitively show that he's the best villain in Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. The action's good, the character dynamics are good, the ending, once again, is very Spider-Man, the sacrifice that he has to make. This movie's strong. And a lot of these movies are strong. So, guys, let me know in the comments below, what are some of your best Spider-Man movies? What are some of your worst Spider-Man movies? What is your top 10 list? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.